some people actually enjoy jury duty and find it intriguing and interesting, but the vast majority of people, of course, find it to be an inconvenience and sometimes a costly inconvenience. Because while their employer cannot fire them for jury duty, they don't have to pay them, and we don't pay all that well. I think we pay $10 if you show up for jury selection, and then if you're actually selected, I think for the days that you serve, I think it's $40, and that doesn't really compensate someone for the money that they're losing. And I appreciate that, which is why I try not to waste people's time. But in June, we were picking 2 juries from the veneer, and I looked out there. It was the smallest showing that we'd had, and for the first time, I thought we might not have enough people to pick juries from. One of them had to do with an allegation of child sex abuse, and it's not uncommon to lose a lot of jurors in that, with opinions that are held or experiences that people have had themselves or close family members or friends. So it's not uncommon to lose a lot of jurors. And so we need to get, you know, a good panel in there, people who are willing to step up and serve. And so it has become a problem. At a recent judicial conference, I visited with some other judges to find out what people were doing. And it ranges from everything from nothing at all to sometimes pretty draconian measures of actually sending out writs of attachment literally on the day they miss, picking them up at their job or wherever they are and bringing them in handcuffs to court. I don't want to resort to that, but they will likely receive a summons personally, which means, of course, I'm tying up constables or deputies that are able to serve process. With a date certain for them to come up and explain why they missed. And if there is some valid legal reason that would have excused them, for instance, things do get lost in the mail. And if they can, here's what happened. I mentioned to the panel that I would be doing this. And literally that day, I think we had 3 phone calls, at least one of which said, hey, I just had a friend who's on the panel said my name was called, and that the judge said that we'd be drug into court. And I never got anything in the mail. And we had at least another person who said, I am so sorry. I had every intention of coming. I just flat forgot. It was a holiday weekend. I understand that. And what we can do is, if it appears to be a reasonable excuse, we can defer them. But if there's not a reasonable excuse, they're going to be paying some money.
The legal obligation that one has to be on a jury, I mean, this does go beyond civic duty, doesn't it?
It really is. It is a legal obligation. That's why there can be some punitive measures taken for failure to comply with a summons to appear in court. And many people, you know, they'll call and they'll tell us their unique circumstances, and I appreciate those people. We can't always make the accommodation that they're asking for. We frequently do. But I appreciate the fact that they take it seriously enough to call and inquire to find out what their options may be if they feel like they just can't appear.
Anyone in District 8 who receives a summons to jury duty does have a responsibility to inform the court if they're not going to be present and why. And if they are not, then you are going to encourage them to be present.
I am going to encourage them, and I hope that something like this in the future will people say, well, you know, I need to get down there. Or if there is some reason that they cannot, then they need to call up here. And again, we'll listen and try to make some accommodations. But for instance, if someone says if it's for economic reasons, then the law actually prohibits me from excusing them unless I have the consent of the attorneys involved in that case. And so often I tell them, you need to come. Here's one of the reasons. On this last docket, we had a number of cases that were set. We generally will prioritize them, but things happen. Sure enough, this time last week we thought it was going to be one particular case. It ended up being another one, and those had different defense attorneys. And so I can't always just call every time we get one of those and call the attorneys, do you have any objection to this? So usually if it's purely an economic reason, they're going to have to come on jury selection day. And then at that time, when I qualify the panel, I go over qualifications, exemptions if they wish to assert them, and then any excuse that they would have for why they shouldn't serve. And I take those one at a time privately and give them an opportunity. And again, I try to be as accommodating as possible. We had a number of people show up last time. Some of them asserted an exemption. For instance, they're over 70 years of age. That's all you have to do. You assert the exemption and you're gone. A couple of child care issues. There were some people who had some medical issues. I'm very sensitive to that. And some people, had a couple who said, listen, I leave tomorrow for a vacation. It's been planned for weeks. We've already put down deposit, paid for it. I'm going to excuse them every time. Now, what I'll do is defer them to the next panel. You know, we are accommodating, but we need people to take those issues seriously.